Hello! Today we're making chicken parmesan, and the term I'm going over is pan fry using a chicken cutlet. You will need a cutting board, a chicken breast, a piece of saran wrap, and a tool to pound your chicken. In my case, I'm using a garlic press. It's not usually the most ideal tool to use, but it did the job perfectly. The purpose of pounding the chicken is to get one uniform shape and thickness to ensure even cooking. Once your chicken is an even thickness on all sides, it is time to season. I'm just using salt and pepper. I know it's basic, but it's the staple ingredient to make any meal delicious. Next, we're moving on to breading our chicken. I used about a cup of flour, a cup of breadcrumbs, and 2 eggs. You want to make sure to whisk the eggs until they're almost frothy. We don't want any chunks. We want it all consistent and even. The first step is to coat your chicken in flour. Then you're going to give it a dip in your egg mixture. You're going to want to make sure your chicken breast is fully covered in all that egg mixture so we can pick up all the tasty breadcrumbs. We don't want any empty spaces without breadcrumbs, so make sure you get a good even layer. You're going to set that to the side, and of course I'm not doing just one. So here's a sped up version of me doing my second chicken cutlet. All right, let's get frying. For pan frying, you need an oil that can reach high temperature without breaking down or smoking. Usually that can consist of vegetable oil, olive oil, and shortening. I used vegetable oil. Here's a little zoom in on my thermometer reaching 350. This is a perfect temperature to fry your chicken cutlet. Using my tongs, I gently place it in the pan. You can see it sizzling right up. And you're working with hot oil. It's really dangerous, so you gotta be really careful. You also need to use a large enough pan to hold food in a single layer without them touching. If the food's crowded, the fat temperature will drop and a good crust won't form. The reason why pan frying makes your food so delicious is because the hot oil seals the food's coated surface. The chicken's being cooked by the oil's heat rather than the direct contact with the pan. Time to flip. We got that golden brown crust. I could tell by the edges of my other cutlet that it wasn't ready to be flipped just quite yet. So even though I was eager to flip it, I waited patiently. I also made the decision to turn down the heat just a little bit. My oil was already at temp from the start, and I didn't want it to get too hot. After waiting what felt like decades, I finally flipped the other cutlet. Gorgeous. I then just let my chicken do its thing. Continue cooking, gave it a couple more flips. Finally, it's time to take them out of the pan and move on to our next step. When working with chicken, it's very important to make sure it's done all the way. We don't want anyone sick, so to ensure that it's done, I temp it. Chicken's doneness temperature is 165. In this case, we reached a whopping 175. Also, I gave you a little zoom in of the liquids running clear. That's also a telling sign that your chicken is done. Okay, next we're moving on to topping our chicken cutlets. I'm using a store-bought marinara sauce. I know, sue me. It's Trader Joe's tomato basil marinara sauce. It's delicious. I'm making sure to top both sides evenly to what I think is a good portion of marinara to chicken. Once I think it looks perfectly spread, I add my mozzarella. I love cheese, so I'm not adding 2 pieces, I'm adding 3. Okay, we're almost there. We need to put our chicken in the oven. I put my oven to 375. We gotta make sure that mozzarella is nice and cheesy. Ideally, you're gonna want some fresh minced parsley to top on your chicken, but in my situation, I totally forgot to pick that up at the store, so I'm using a combination of dried parsley, oregano, spices that I got at my local farmer's market. Other specific cuts and types of food you can do this on are other types of meat like beef and pork. You can also do this with vegetables. You can thinly slice eggplant and make eggplant parmesan. In conclusion, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration on pan frying. I think this dish turned out incredibly well. I would have loved fresh parsley and maybe a little more browning on my mozzarella cheese. Thanks for watching.